There is a growing political trend in the United States that attempts to fuse Christian teachings with communist economic goals. These systems are philosophically incompatible and repel each other upon contact, despite the claims made by advocates of Christian communism. Liberation theology, a movement interpreting Christian doctrine through socioeconomic struggle, claims that the moral teachings of Jesus align with communist aims. According to the primary source text, this attempted synthesis is a severe ideological error. Mixing these systems contaminates the scientific basis of socialism with idealist philosophy. Orthodox Marxist-Leninists are instructed to oppose this contamination with the same vigor used against all forms of political revisionism. This portrait shows Karl Marx, who in his 1844 critique defined religion as the opium of the people. Marx argued that abolishing this illusory happiness is a mandatory demand for achieving real material happiness. Orthodox Marxist-Leninists view militant atheism as an inescapable structural prerequisite for genuine political revolution. The battleground for this split lies in ontology, the study of the nature of being and reality. Marxist-Leninist philosophy is built on the foundation of materialism. In this worldview, matter exists independently of any mind. This model shows the emergence of consciousness as a byproduct of physical matter. This materialist model concludes that there is no supernatural realm and no divine creator. All religion is inherently based on idealism. The religious premise asserts that a supernatural mind preceded and governs the physical universe. These positions create a direct logical contradiction. Believing matter is primary excludes the belief that a divine mind created matter. When a system operates on these opposing truths, its logical integrity dissolves. Attempting this synthesis produces deep ideological confusion and profound inconsistency. This internal contradiction leads to the subordination of scientific analysis to superstition. Any political movement built on both foundations will inevitably fracture due to their differing rules of reality. We must now examine how idealist philosophy practically functions within a class-based society. This coronation ceremony shows how the church and religious institutions historically provided spiritual cover for the ruling class, blessing feudal lords with divine right. These institutions function to demand obedience to earthly authority and to condemn political rebellion as a spiritual sin. This ideological control targets the peasantry and the industrial workers seen here. Religion directs the oppressed to endure exploitation in this life for a guaranteed reward in the next. This social pyramid maps the architecture of control. The ruling class exerts heavy downward pressure through material oppression. Religious ideology acts as an insulating layer that neutralizes working-class resistance by dissolving the upward pressure of material struggle. The text argues that this pacification is the exact intended social function of religion under a class society. Individual religious figures may side with the poor, but the institutional structures of religion serve the interests of the exploiting class. Modern liberation theology remains trapped within this institutional contradiction despite its progressive intentions. Religion acts as an ideological dampener, redirecting revolutionary energy away from the physical world toward an imaginary one. The United States presents a specific hazard, as it is the most religious of all advanced capitalist nations. Religious ideology permeates American public life, discourse, and politics, seen here in the blend of faith and national identity. This environment creates immense pressure for radical movements to conform to religious norms to gain visibility. American communists who retain their faith inadvertently import idealist philosophy into the workers' movement. This sharp geometric node represents a scientific materialist framework. Idealism has a corrosive effect on this framework, causing it to lose its structural integrity. This dilution destroys the movement's most revolutionary weapon, the uncompromising materialist worldview. A radical threat is neutralized when forced into a controlled environment. The ruling class has nothing to fear from a communism that kneels before altars. The author describes such a movement as defanged, domesticated, and safe for the existing capitalist order. Synthesizing religion with communism in the American context successfully neutralizes the movement as a threat to the status quo. Genuine Marxist-Leninists must hold an uncompromising atheist position. Orthodox policy does not advocate for the targeted persecution of individual believers. Scientific socialism views individual belief as a product of alienation and the need for consolation in a suffering world. Prohibiting religion through administrative bans is a brute force approach that ultimately fails. The true solution is to remove the need for illusion by changing the material environment. Transforming oppressive material conditions will eventually make religious consolation unnecessary. In 1922, V.I. Lenin directed that communist propaganda must necessarily include the propaganda of atheism. The movement must never water down its scientific worldview to recruit those who are not yet ready to abandon superstition. Scientific rigor is infinitely more important to the movement than immediate popularity. The organizational logic locks together 3 points: materialist ontology, class struggle focus, and militant atheism. Religious communism represents an ideological regression. Genuine revolution demands clarity over comfort, and compromising on foundational philosophy